Right, guys, I've just seen Luton versus Burnley, and that was complete and utter domination from Burnley. Burnley were in the same division as Luton last season, and you wouldn't have known that watching that match. It was just an absolute obliteration. I think anyone who watched it tonight was probably watching the champions. I think Burnley are the best team in this league, and I really do think Burnley are going to win the league. I think they're definitely going up again. Even the players they bought last season, all right, they went down. Like they can't have done that well because they went down. But you looked at the start they made. It was a poor first half of the season, but in the second half of last season, Burnley were getting better, and a lot of the players they bought were getting better. And I think what Burnley did was, I think they went into the season. They're not going to. Vincent Kompany's not going to say it, but I think their recruitment strategy was very much prepared to possibly go down, because so many top teams in the Premier League, if you go up, you've got to be prepared to go back down, and you've got to make sure that if you do go back down, you've got a team that's good enough to compete the next year. And Burnley have done that. You looked at some of their players, like that starting 11 is a cheat code. It's an absolute cheat code. You know, you've got the front three of Odebear, Foster, and you've then got Koleosho as well. It's some unbelievable players who in the Championship will tear apart. They really will. You got the midfield of Cullen and Brownhill. Vitinha was brilliant. I thought Vitinha was outstanding. It was, yeah, it was definitely, chalk and cheese. You got Luton, who, in fairness to Luton, I think you look at the second, the first goal at 2-1 that Luton scored. I think that goal in itself is why Luton will still have a good season, because they're so good at scoring that kind of goal. They're so tough to defend against, and I think they'll get at least the playoffs this season. What you saw tonight was not the real Luton. There was some glimpses of last season, but it wasn't the real Luton that we know. But as for Burnley, listen, that team they have is going to absolutely tear a lot of teams to shreds this season. They're the best team in the league, and I think they showed it tonight. They showed what's in store, and I don't even think they're done. I don't think that's just their level they can get to. I think there's another gear for Burnley. I really do. I think that team is going to really shine. But the big test is, when they go up this season, the big test is, can those players, the second time around in the Premier League, can they do better? And that's the test, because I always felt last season that team was going to completely tear the Championship up, completely. Even the strength and depth, you got Zarawi and Benson, who didn't really hit the ground running in the Premier League, and I think if they can show some of the form they showed 2 years ago for Burnley, then that's just the strength and depth. Amdouni isn't even back yet. It's a very, very good team. And Scott Parker, whether people like it or not, Scott Parker has proven to be a very good manager at this level. And it's no surprise to me that he is going to be playing that kind of football that he did tonight. It was so entertaining. And, not too dissimilar from Vincent Kompany's Burnley. But the test for Parker is, can he do better than the Kompany team? That's the question, because he's a very good manager at this level. And even I spoke about the Burnley players needing to make the jump up to the Premier League the second time around. But Scott Parker has to make a statement as well, because it didn't end very well for him at Bournemouth, when they came up. But in fairness, he didn't really get given a chance. They had that walloping against Liverpool, and then he was gone, basically. And obviously with Fulham, he took him up, but he took him down as well. So this is big for Scott Parker. I do believe he'll get Burnley up, but when he does get Burnley up, I think he's got to really prove that he can stay in the division, because if he doesn't, then he might be labelled with the tag of, oh, he's good in the Championship, but he can't cut it in the Premier League. And he doesn't want that. He's a young coach who wants to have a big career in the game, and he's got to really prove that he's the real deal in the Premier League. But as for Burnley tonight, I thought they were fantastic. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. And I said, before a ball had been kicked in the Championship this weekend, Burnley were my favourites to come first. And after tonight, that hasn't changed one bit. They were fantastic. As for Luton, you know, their defence was kind of very inexperienced. Luton will be back. They'll be back. As soon as they get a couple of players in and get a couple of their existing players back from injury, they'll be back. I don't think they've got the team that Burnley do, but I still expect them to finish in the playoffs, and at least, because they could get that second place, but we'll see. They weren't in my second place, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did finish in the top two. But now, very good for Burnley. Luton will get better, but yeah, it was Burnley's night tonight, and I think they're gonna absolutely smash this championship this season. It's gonna be a breeze, I think. But we'll see. You know, a lot can change, and it's only one game, so we just have to see as the games go on whether Burnley really are the real deal.